Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. My name is Walter, and let me tell you, this is one of those situations that you don't see coming. You see, I never thought I'd cross paths with my ex-wife again. Not after the way things ended between us. Not after the betrayal, the divorce, and everything that followed. But here I am, standing in a room, dressed in my best suit, and watching her face turn pale as she realizes who I am. And the best part? She has no choice but to deal with it. Now I know you're probably wondering, what happened? How did I end up in this situation? And most importantly, what am I going to do about it? Trust me, this is a story you're going to want to hear from start to finish, because if I weren't living it myself, I wouldn't believe it either. So stick with me, and let me take you all the way back to where it began. I thought I had found the perfect woman, the one I would grow old with. Her name was Madison. Back then, I was convinced she was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. You know that feeling when you meet someone and everything just clicks? That's how it was with Madison. We met at a mutual friend's party. I wasn't even planning to go that night, but a buddy of mine dragged me along. Looking back, I sometimes wonder how different my life would have been if I had just stayed home. But that night, I saw Madison across the room, and for some reason, I couldn't look away. So I walked over, introduced myself, and from that moment, we just hit it off. We talked for hours that night, and it felt effortless. Two people completely in sync. We started dating soon after, and those early days were some of the best times of my life. Everything felt right. She was supportive, funny, and always had my back, or at least that's what I believed at the time. A couple of years into dating, I knew she was the one. Proposing felt like the easiest decision I had ever made. I asked her to marry me. She said yes without hesitation, and at that moment, I felt like my life was heading exactly where it was meant to go. Our wedding was beautiful and filled with friends, family, and everyone who had been part of our journey. We exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other no matter what. At the time, I was working for a tech company. A solid job I had landed right after college. It wasn't my dream job, but it paid well, and I was good at it. Madison, on the other hand, worked for the government. She had a stable position with good benefits. We both had decent careers, a comfortable life, and what I thought was a strong relationship. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But if life has taught me anything, it's that things aren't always what they seem. And just because you believe someone is meant to be in your life forever doesn't mean they feel the same way. At some point, I wasn't happy with my job. I wanted more than just a salary and a promotion every few years. I had ideas, and I wanted to create something of my own, something that would make an impact. The thought of working for someone else for the rest of my life didn't sit well with me. So, after years of playing it safe, I finally made up my mind. I was going to quit and start my own business. Now, this wasn't some impulsive, reckless move. I had saved up a significant amount of money over the years, and I had a plan. At least I thought I did. I sat down with Madison one night and told her everything. She was supportive. She smiled, told me she believed in me, and assured me that we'd be fine. At that moment, I felt lucky. I thought, this is what a strong marriage looks like. Having a partner who stands by you even when the future is uncertain. But the reality of building a business is nothing like the motivational speeches you hear online. It's not just about hard work, it's about failure, setbacks, and moments that make you question everything. The first few months were rough. I spent long hours working on my startup, trying to develop something that could actually take off. But nothing went as planned. The ideas that seemed brilliant in my head didn't translate well in execution. The money I had saved, it was burning fast, and there was no income to replace it. To make matters worse, I wasn't just dealing with professional struggles. I was also losing touch with my wife. Back when I had a regular job, we had routines. We had dinner together, we watched shows, and we went out on weekends. But now, my entire life revolved around my work. I wasn't intentionally neglecting Madison, but in my mind, I thought she understood that this phase was temporary. I told myself that once the business started making money, we'd go back to how things used to be. One night, after another long day of failed attempts, I sat Madison down and tried to explain. I told her that the startup wasn't working out as quickly as I'd hoped, that I needed to push harder, work longer, and figure things out. She smiled and said, "I know this is important to you. I'm always here for you." I held on to those words like a lifeline. At the time, I thought she meant them. But looking back now, I know better. Let me tell you, nothing prepares you for the moment you find out the person you trusted the most has been betraying you behind your back. A friend I've known for years who works at my wife's office sat me down one day, and in a careful tone he said, "Walter, I don't know how to say this, man, but you need to know. Madison has been seeing someone else, and it's no longer rumors." At first, I just stared at him. My brain refused to process it. Madison? I almost laughed because it sounded ridiculous. But then he gave me details, who it was, when it started, how they had been meeting up outside of work. A coworker. I wanted to believe he was wrong. But the evidence he showed me was overwhelming. I didn't waste time. That same night, when she got home from work, I confronted her. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Who is he?" She froze. That was all the confirmation I needed. But still, I wanted to hear her say it. I wanted her to at least have the decency to admit it. And after a few seconds of silence, she did. She told me that she never meant to hurt me, that she didn't know how it happened, and that she was lonely because I was always working. I don't remember much of what I said after that. I remember yelling. I remember asking her if she ever thought about what this would do to me. And I remember feeling numb. The divorce that followed was as ugly as you'd expect. Madison didn't just betray me, she wanted to destroy me. She came after my money, my savings, anything she could get her hands on. She wanted to make sure that after she walked away, there was nothing left of me. She probably didn't want to see me succeed after she had thrown me away. But here's the thing, she didn't win. Because I had been out of work, because I was the one struggling while she was the one earning a steady paycheck, she didn't get what she wanted. She had nothing to take from me. And, in a way, that was the one thing that gave me peace. She tried to ruin me, but there was nothing for her to take. So, she walked away, thinking she had left me in the dirt. But what she didn't know, what she never saw coming, was that I wasn't going to stay down forever. I won't lie, those first few months after the divorce were some of the hardest of my life. Finding out Madison had been cheating on me wasn't just painful. It shook something deep inside me. It made me question everything. Our marriage, my judgment, and even my own worth. I had two choices. Let the situation break me or use it as fuel to push forward. I chose the latter. With nothing left to lose, I threw myself into my work like a man possessed. My startup was my lifeline, the one thing I could control when everything else had fallen apart. I spent every waking hour refining my idea, tweaking my business model, and reaching out to potential investors and clients. The problem was that money was running out fast. I started pitching my startup to every major company I could get in front of. Some barely glanced at my proposal before rejecting it. Others entertained the idea, but ultimately passed. The worst part wasn't the rejection itself, but the lingering doubt that came with it. Was my idea actually good, or was I just chasing a fantasy? I had sacrificed everything for this, but what if I had nothing to show for it in the end? That fear was real, and I wrestled with it every single day. Then, just when I was on the brink of running out of options, one company saw something the others didn't. They were a well-established firm looking for innovative solutions in their field, and my startup fit exactly what they needed. The deal they offered wasn't just a lifeline, it was a turning point. With their backing, I wasn't just scraping by anymore. The money started flowing, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was standing on solid ground again. Within 6 months of the partnership, everything had changed. I went from being an outsider struggling to get noticed to someone with real influence. My role wasn't just limited to the partnership. I had a say in hiring decisions, project direction, and the overall growth of the company's initiative. It was a complete reversal of where I had been not long ago. That's when fate decided to throw me a curveball I never saw coming. The company I partnered with was hiring for the departments under me. It was a routine process, going through applications, shortlisting candidates, and ensuring we brought in the right talent. I had a say in the final selection, but most of the hiring was handled by HR. So when the final list of new hires landed on my desk, I wasn't expecting anything until I saw Madison Carter among the names. I stared at the screen, reading it twice just to make sure I wasn't imagining things. My ex-wife was unknowingly stepping into a job where I was her boss. I leaned back in my chair, processing the situation. Of all the companies in the city, of all the departments in this industry, she had landed here? The irony was so thick that I almost laughed. I quickly scanned her employment history. She had left her government job. No surprise there. Government paychecks are stable, but they don't offer much growth, especially if you want a more luxurious lifestyle. She was clearly chasing better pay, a higher position, something that would give her more financial security. And without realizing it, she had walked straight into my world. I wondered if she had done any research before applying, or if she had sent out applications blindly, unaware of what she was walking into. Either way, it didn't matter. The contract was signed. She was already hired. The morning of her first day, I made sure I was ready. Not just for work, but for the moment itself. I picked out my best suit, one that fit perfectly. Polished shoes, the right tie, the perfect watch. I even went the extra step with my best cologne. Not because I cared what she thought, but because I wanted to walk into that room with undeniable presence. When I walked into the conference room, the new hires were already seated, waiting to meet their department lead. I kept my step slow, controlled. I didn't have to search for her. I found her immediately. And so did she. The moment our eyes met, she froze. Her face went pale. It was all over her face, the shock, the confusion, the growing fear. I didn't react. I walked to the front of the room and addressed the group like she was just another new hire. I didn't acknowledge her. Not once. I scanned the room as I spoke, making eye contact with each new hire, one by one. My voice was steady, my tone firm. I outlined the company's expectations, the roles they were stepping into, and what kind of work ethic we demanded. And the whole time, I ignored her completely. Not a glance, not the slightest change in expression. She was just another face in the crowd. But I noticed the way she shifted in her seat, the way her fingers fidgeted with the edge of her notepad. She wasn't just surprised to see me. She was nervous. I could feel it from across the room. After the meeting, I didn't linger. I walked out just as confidently as I had walked in. Back in my office, I barely had time to settle in before there was a knock at the door. I knew who it was before I even answered. Of course, she'd come. Madison never handled discomfort well. She always had a way of trying to smooth things over when she thought she was losing control of a situation. She opened the door, standing there like a guilty defendant waiting for a verdict. Her posture was tense. "Walter." She hesitated, her voice softer than I had ever heard it. "Can I talk to you for a moment?" I just crossed my arms and leaned back in my chair. "Go ahead." She took a shaky breath. I wanted to apologize. For everything. For what I did to you back then. I know I hurt you." She looked down, like she couldn't even bring herself to meet my eyes. "And I don't expect you to forgive me, but please don't hold it against me here. This job, it's a dream come true for me. I don't want to lose it." I just looked at her for a moment, taking in her words. I nodded once and simply said, "Focus on your work." From that day on, I noticed a shift in her behavior. She was always soft-spoken around me, careful with her words, as if she was afraid of saying the wrong thing. She was overly polite, always making sure to acknowledge me in meetings, always careful to stay on my good side. I couldn't tell if it was guilt, fear, or some desperate attempt at self-preservation. Maybe all three. So here I am, reflecting on everything. A few years ago, she wanted me to fail. Now, her entire career depends on my decisions. If I wanted to, I could make things very difficult for her. I could give her impossible deadlines, overload her with work, or even find a reason to fire her. It wouldn't even be hard. But should I? That's the question that's been running through my head all day. I think back to the divorce, to those long, painful months when she did everything she could to ruin me. She wasn't just trying to leave me. She wanted to see me crash and burn. She went after my savings, my assets, and anything else she could get her hands on. If she had gotten her way, my startup would have never survived. I would have been left with nothing, struggling to rebuild from scratch while she moved on with her new life. She never thought I'd make it. She never believed I'd actually succeed. And yet here we are. I made it, and now she's the one who's vulnerable. Part of me thinks, why should I let her off the hook? She never gave me mercy when she had the chance. She betrayed me, lied to me, and tried to destroy everything I was working for. Why should I be the bigger person? If the roles were reversed, would she have forgiven me? Or would she have taken a chance to crush me completely? I already know the answer to that. But then there's another part of me that wonders, what's the point? She's already lost. She's the one who's starting over while I've built something successful. Maybe revenge isn't necessary. Maybe knowing that she has to wake up every day and report to me that the man she once underestimated is now the one she answers to is punishment enough. I'm stuck between these two thoughts, and honestly, I don't know what to do. That's why I'm asking you, what do you think? Should I forgive her and let her keep this job without any trouble? Or should I remind her of what she did to me and make her regret ever crossing me? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because right now, her fate is in my hands.